I saw a very good video. I think it was on a channel called Africa Stream, and the video was about the coup in Niger, and I actually found it very interesting because these guys were very hip to the game. They're fundamentally, it does appear that young Africa is red-pilled, and they were talking about what the French get out of everything in Africa, and Africa doesn't get shit back, and it was great. They were really nailing it, and picking up on the fact that this person on CNN was talking, and that they reveal not only were they a member of an NGO, but they used to work for the State Department, which is the argument that everybody right of center who's pro-MAGA keeps making, is all of this is the State Department or the CIA. Just, you leave that, you join an NGO, quote unquote, then you help people with the help of your former CIA and State Department friends. You help other countries, right? And like we helped Afghanistan, and like we keep helping the Kurds, or how we're helping somebody in Syria, supposedly. So a lot of people who say young Africa needs to know, like that the Western patriots in America fundamentally were on this. The picture of Trump with the Islamic world with their hands on a globe, that was the end of France's connection to Africa. That was the end of our policies there, except Trump got fucked, and so it's still going on. And that's and everybody saw it, but nobody wants to act like they saw it. And that's very, very important. Without knowing this, you wouldn't know it. And then there's a lot of people who they might think like they understand the ideology of MAGA people or the patriots or something, and you don't get it. No. We understand because when there are African Catholics in the United States, or Ethiopian Orthodox in the United States, we share the same values as them. The liberals wear berets. Just really roll that over in your mind. The old liberals, the old boomers, the people who are Trump's generation, who hate his guts, were the ones throwing all this money to make sure he doesn't to do anything they can and they want, and the chaos they're causing, and they openly wear berets. They love France. These queers love fucking France. Old boomer liberals worship the fucking French, and to the point that it comes across as weird to a younger generation. Like, being somebody who, I didn't know shit about France. I was raised a good liberal in San Francisco. I didn't know why they would worship France, but they all did. And they all thought the beret was so fucking cool. So you just, anybody who is African, who you want Africa to be ruled by Africans, you have to understand only the MAGA end of the Republican Party is on your side. The moderate Republicans are not on your side. They believe in counter-terrorism for the rest of time on the African continent. That's why you see a picture of John McCain standing with what's supposedly an FSA member, but this FSA member happens to change his clothes a lot when he goes on various other news sources, and so he suddenly is a part of one of the rebel groups. And so actually, this is a really good one to know. One of the first demonetizations was the demonetization of videos on Syria where the person could translate the Arabic being spoken on the television sources. This guy's channel got demonetized, and no one had ever heard of demonetization at that stage. This is a channel called Storm Clouds Gathering. So he was one of the first people who put a lot of us on to, like, no, these quote-unquote anti-Assad rebels and the FSA and all of it and the jihadis, they're all the same people. They just change outfits. And he proved it. He showed this guy in 3 different outfits and in all these different photos with different kinds of people claiming he was in all these different groups. And then there's the photo with John McCain. So a lot of us then, we were like, got it. And I'm one of the few people that I actually got to see this piece of footage that was a man who had been tortured by ISIS. And there was, a man who was tortured by ISIS. And when he's looking through the rubble of one of the place that he had been, there's pill wrappers everywhere. Now, some of you who you're Africans who are hip to the game, like you're like, oh yeah, the drugs. And now it's starting to pop up, the evidence is starting to come out from Ukraine too. And these people are like, no, they hop us up on drugs, and then we'll do anything. That was why so many Muslims kept saying that ISIS had nothing to do with Islam. Because these guys were not just hopped up on drugs. When you actually got to see the footage in the Muslims, in the Islamic world, in the Arabic-speaking world, but the Islamic world, you got to see these guys were obviously hopped up on drugs. I mean, you could see it. You could see their eyes. They were fucked up, and that was the whole thing. Was that there are people who were able to recognize this and were like, these guys, this is haram. These guys are on hard drugs. And so then the dude who was talking about this, who had been tortured by ISIS, he then gets into, he goes, they said, the person who was with him said, so the drugs were so that they could fight and blah, blah, blah. He goes, no. The drugs were so that were the drugs given to people they were torturing for interrogation? He goes, no. They would take the drugs so that they could more effectively torture people, because it's so difficult for a human to endure torturing another person. Most people can't do that. You have to be a special kind of maniac. And it was really sobering. It was a very sobering interview. And this guy was possessed. He had to get revenge. That was his life. It was all gone. Everything, his family, everybody, they were all gone. The only thing he had left was revenge. And so yeah, we're on your side. If Africans want Africa run by Africans, those of us who are nationalists in the United States, we don't see a problem with this at all. And honestly, there would be people, they are racist people, and it's like, because Africans aren't. Yeah, this is a continent of people who feel nothing but love for one another. They're constantly dancing because they love each other so much. No. We're just realistic, And when it comes down to the thing of religion, it's that's it. The Orthodox and the Catholics who are over there with that, and there's lots of Protestants too, I know, but I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, no, that's it. We have Catholics here. There's Catholics there. You can't have an empire that rules these people like they're chattel. And so, for many of you, you might be thinking, well, why didn't the Republicans do anything before? Why? Honestly, not many people. There's literally something that came up among the nationalists in the early days, right even before Trump ran, and a part of it was a thing called the Francosphere. And they said that outside of the Francosphere, most people don't understand what is happening in the French speaking world. It was totally true. Very either you don't speak another language, or you usually speak Spanish, or you speak French here. Some people learn German in school, or an Asian language, but it's typically going to be Spanish. Like, I learned Spanish, so I'm very concerned about the Spanish speaking world because I just understand more about it. But like the French speaking world, that's kind of its own unique thing. That, I mean, you have to speak French to understand it. And then there's a lot about France that if you don't know anything about France, then it's like, well, then, I mean, that's that. If you don't know like what countries France was in, if you don't, I mean, then you really, it takes years and years and years then to learn. So, just want to put this out there because there really is a misunderstanding about the Trump MAGA whole thing, and it really is this thing of like, no, this isn't about a bunch of people that want to like rule the world through some Nazi white supremacist domination. No, we want the end of the empire. We don't want to be an empire. We don't want drone. We're not into the Obama drone everything policy, drone the world into obedience policy. That only a weak gay man could think that. Women and weak gay men would think that would work, but oh well. You see, and that's why. What did Trump do? What did they say he did? What did people say after they said what he would do is he would ask the opposite party, what is it that they really need out of this? What do they really want? Like what's just, let's get this out immediately. Like, what do you really need to have happen? Because if there's something you need to have happen, we're powerful. There's not really a purpose in us stopping you from having what you need if we're trying to negotiate with you. That was one of the first places he would apparently start. There's not really a reason to stick it to you. That's why we're having a negotiation. And he looked at his business. This is also why he got screwed over. He thought it was business. He approached it. People, even there was one of the best researchers I on the internet on the guy, was like, no, he probably is approaching this like business, thinking like everyone's going to do the job. He's in charge. He was put in charge. Now everyone does what they're supposed to do to make the company work. And now we see what's really going on. And so I think I really like also, it was very good that these guys pointed out in the West, voting on everything and the only thing that's valid is voting until it's not. Until voting is the only valid method until you want to surround the White House for days on end, rioting and try to burn down the church across the street. Things like that. It's non-governmental organization. That's who did that. It wasn't the Democratic Party. Oh no. It was Occupy Democrats. See, it went totally different thing. Non-governmental organization, non-profit. So it's totally kosher, bro. Yeah. Africa, that's your continent. I don't know why we don't concentrate on ours.